Good morning. It's Thursday, 12th June 2025, and of course, we call it the Democracy Day. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the continuation of your news and current affairs program, reaching you live from our Lagos Network studio on the ITV network. I am Joshua Okata. It's Democracy Day, and of course, the saying from our local palace is about not how far, but how well. So, on that basis, how well have we fared as a nation, more or less, as a nascent democratic nation that has been in existence in the last 26 years? Is there anything to be proud of as a country? What improvements have we made thus far as a democratic nation? The claim by the federal government that the country is already going back on a recovery path, but are there empirical data to show that the country, Nigeria at large, is back on a recovery path? Well, share your thought with us on our social media platform. But of course, I've got a guest right here who will be giving us insightful knowledge as regards how far and how well we have fared as a nation. My guest on the show this morning is Mr. Ayo Emakiome. He is a management consultant. Good morning, and
Good
thank you so much for
morning.
joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, and happy Democracy Day, everyone.
All right. It's been 26 good years that we've been on that journey, as it were, traveling, and so far as a nascent democratic nation, is there any development or achievement we've made thus far?
26 years. On a lighter note, we are alive. As our elders would say, thank God they are alive. But as a nation, we've come a long way. And the one I really appreciate is the fact that the average Nigerian is getting more, first of all, economically enlightened. They are now understanding the need why they should consider the prices of goods and the costs of those prices. They are now getting to understand why they need to know what inflation is all about, what causes it. And then secondly, the average Nigerian too now is getting more politically enlightened. And so in line with that, they are getting more politically active, which is creating engagement in the country entirely. And what that is doing is, during the military era, there was a lot of division. We were ruled with a lot of divide and rule and factionalism. But in the last 26 years, we are getting closer and working, realizing that we need to work as a team to move the nation forward. So if you say, where have we been? That, for me, that's a very powerful movement in the country from then till now. But of course, there are so many other infrastructural issues. Is it the telecoms you want to talk about? Is it IT technology? We've moved in leaps and bounds. Is it even technology? Who would have believed that a Nigerian bank will be working on a blockchain platform just a few years ago, not to talk of 26 years ago? Then, of course, the mobile technology, we are, if not ahead, we are at par with anywhere in the world. Then, yes, we are not there yet, but our infrastructure in some states, not all states for now, the standards are high. They can stand by a lot of international best systems. But yes, that's the positive angle. From the other angle, they usually tell you that any nation or any community you come to, how do you know their state? You know their state from two places as a man on the street. One is their infrastructure, two is their public services. Public services, I mean services like the schools. What's the state of the public schools, universities, secondary schools? How are they today? Two, hospitals. Three, police. How is the mindset of the average policeman, and how is the average police station? How does it look today? Then issues like water. Do we even have public water anymore? I don't remember. You get, so that is a question of the state of the nation. But not to make it all doom, recently I traveled by road from Lagos to Delta, and I have lived all my life in Nigeria, and the state of the road as at this recent travel is far better than in the last like 20 years. I know growing up, there used to be this thing they used to call Okada by air. It was a road trip where it was Okada by air. The reason then, I was small, but then why they did it like that is when I'm in the car, 504, they will put the small children in the middle. They will leave by midnight. They will get to like Delta or Benin then in 2 hours. The road was so smooth they could drive at jet speed. So they used to call it kind of a night trip. 2 hours you're in Benin. So, but after a while, all that disappeared because of the state of the roads. But I think they can go back there now with what I saw of the recent road state. So it's getting better. But it can be better as in compared to over the last 26 years. We are not supposed to be where we are now. But are we where we were? No, we've moved.
All right, you made quite some very brilliant submission, I must say, especially looking at it from the infrastructure, talking about the development of the telecom sector, the ICT. Okay, picking it from the days of the post-military regime where we understood how the game was run at the time, divide and rule system, which you, by virtue of that, took the question off my mouth when I wanted to ask you, you know, at the level of those who are referred to as the state actors, was there any lessons learned from the military regime, which you cited, the, you know, divide and rule system? But come to look at it carefully, how have Nigerians at large been able to tap from the ICT emergence, I would use that word, to be able to curb insecurity? Before long, Nigerians used to enjoy a road trip, but not the case right now. You may never be able to travel between Lagos and Ibadan or Lagos and Benin without being fear or being in fear of your life because of how dangerous the road has been. You find issues with kidnappers, you find issues with bandits, you know, who at random attack people, even in communities. Now, would you be able to say that we have moved a leap further in the area of ICT by using it to curb insecurity?
That's your question. I have not seen where so far they are using ICT yet to deal with insecurity, because from the little knowledge I have of cybersecurity, that means we have like a facial recognition system that works.
Yes.
So first of all, let's start with system. Do we have one? Before we talk about whether it's working, which means there is CCTV everywhere. I know it was approved some time ago in Abuja, then, but I have not seen it. Then it was discussed. I don't know if it was approved in Lagos, and in Lagos it's just in a few places, and it's CCTV, not facial recognition. Facial recognition is the next level of CCTV, and for even either of the two to work, that means we have a database that has everybody's details. Yes, we have our NIN, but is it integrated? Because it has to be an integrated system, and I know that's one of the challenges that the internal internal security system, they have issues between all the security systems. They don't have an integrated database to work together. So in line with that, I don't think you're saying that we use what do you call it, technology to fight insecurity. We are not there yet.
Yeah,
what has been happening is not that it's not happening, is that a few departments like the EFCC, the what do you call it, the cybercrime units in some different units, including like Ministry of Justice, because we do a lot of cybercrime enlightenment, they come independently and fight cybercrime.
Okay.
And when technology works, it has to be an integrated effort.
All right. Now we'll be taking, you know, feeds from our correspondent who is in Lagos,
Okay.
covering the ends bad governance protest. And of course, we would want to know what the situation of things is like, especially having him on ground there. We have Aigboje Ikoria, who is right at Ikeja, I guess. Aigboje Ikoria, we believe you're right there at Ikeja, covering the situation report of the NSAS protest. So what's the situation of things over there?
Thank you for having me this morning right here at Esta on the bridge where the protest is on. Behind me, like you can see, the end bad governance protesters making several demands, such like asking Mr. President to reverse the pump price of petrol products and also reverse the tariff price of electricity. They also demanding that Mr. President to go back and stop implementing the policies of the IMF, saying that it's not healthy for the economy of Nigeria. They're also making a demand that president to put in policies that will make life better for Nigerians as it were. But while you have this group here protesting and demanding for a better Nigeria, we also have another group standing there. We also have another group there. We also have another group there, like you can see them there. This other group is saying that Mr. President has done well, and Nigeria needs to be patient with Mr. President. Nigerians need to be patient with Mr. President, and Mr. President is doing his best to ensure that the country is good and is better. So we have a dicey situation here. We have two different groups. While one of the groups in well, the other group behind me is saying.
So far from what he's, telling us, we have two group of persons, at Ikeja. One is talking about the fact that this is their demand. Let the federal government bring down the petroleum pump price, bring down the tariff price of electricity and what have you. While the other group are for the government, saying that we should give them more time. Well, just so that we are able to feel the pulse of the people, we have a clip that we're also going to play to help us understand what it means when we have an holiday like today, June 12th, where people should be celebrating. But let's hear what, the people on the street are saying in terms of feeling their pulses as to how they feel about, June 12th. So let's
June 12th. One of the most celebrated days in Nigeria's political history, now known as Democracy Day. After 26 years of uninterrupted democracy, some Nigerians are not happy with the president's economic policies in the country.
Since I was born into this country, I have not benefited anything in this country. So why will I? I don't think there's anything special in celebrating it.
Common groundnut, garri wey we dey produce, we wey dey produce the garri to buy am na problem. Talk less of imported things. So I don't know what we are celebrating.
While calling for a better country and a stable economy where all Nigerians can benefit, some say the only reason to celebrate is freedom from the military dictatorship.
I would say not really, but somehow it is worth celebrating.
June 12th was proclaimed Democracy Day in Nigeria by former President Muhammadu Buhari. From Lagos, Aigboje Ikoria.
All right, now we have watched the video and what people are saying are really not encouraging. Someone said there's nothing to benefit, there's nothing to be proud of because obviously he has not benefited anything from the government since he was born. The other person said even garri that we produce, he can hardly or barely afford it. So looking at this kind of footages that doesn't give anyone a reason to celebrate, the minister of one of the ministers, the Minister of Economic Planning, highlighted some of the reforms that the government have made. And in his statement, he said that the government has made giant strides, especially when it comes to the removal of fuel subsidy and all of that. Now, let's even take fuel subsidy removal as one of our case study to look at if there's anything so much to be proud of. The federal government removed fuel subsidy in the year 2023. And then, according to information, we have about $84 billion that were saved from fuel subsidy alone. can you tell me what exactly the federal government has done with that huge sum of savings to be able to impact on any sector that would make us feel proud that the economy, as it were, is on a recovery path?
There are so many angles to look to use to deal with this that I'm trying to think of which is the best one, but I will come from this angle. Okay, one, we've had savings from the removal of fuel subsidy. Okay, and change, the best form of change is not instant, it's gradual.
But we
which
have
is true
in stages, the immediate, the mid, and the long term.
Yes.
So which are we in?
We are, what has been happening? Okay, good. I like your question. Your question gives me a more contextual response.
All right.
You see, in running a government, and dealing with the people, you have to look at, one, the macroeconomic variables and how to manipulate them to the advantage of the people. Then, while doing that, you also now have to look at the microeconomic variables and how to manipulate it to favor the people in the midst of all the other issues like politics, international trade, etc. Okay, as a government, you are supposed to be able to do it such that it's balanced, where macro and micro run pari passu all the time. You can't separate it. When you separate it, then nothing seems to be happening. In the government of today, with all they've been doing, they have good intention. They are trying to move the nation forward.
Beyond having good intention.
But most of what they've been doing is focusing on macroeconomic variables to turn the economy around. Now, it's a good model, but the challenge with that is that macroeconomic manipulations for positive development, the results are not seen usually at a minimum of 3, but usually from 5 years of implementation is when you start feeling the effects. So it's a long-term planning variable. It is the micro that you can use for quick wins, which is why usually advisable you balance it. While you are dealing with the macroeconomic issues, also look at the quick wins, which are the micro, but they have left that. From my understanding of what they are doing in the government, Tinubu feels that as the president, he deals with the macroeconomic variables, while his governors deal with the microeconomic variables in their regions. But he is forgetting that we have a culture that has been established that it will be very difficult to change overnight, where everybody then used to look at the president. Everything has to come from the center, because they too had forgotten that we are no more a military government. We are now a decentralized democracy, which means the federal does their own, but the states do their own. So, but the other part is communication. They've not been very good at communication. And so what I expect is, as a government, he should even tell them, see, this is what I am doing, which is a challenge. There is no clear, direct economic focus. All they are doing is solve the problem. But you see, if you keep firefighting, you don't move forward. You need to have a strategy, and then all the fires that come in between achieving that your strategy, you now fight them. But why? Is in the part of achieving your. So he needs to let them know, governors, this is the list I expect of you. Address these key microeconomic variables while I focus on the macroeconomic. But everybody is just doing anything he does. He moves left, everybody moves left. He moves right, everybody moves right. Those days, they used to say it's the body language. But everybody needs to understand that they are now responsible for their own acts. When I say everybody, the governors should be responsible for their states, not waiting on the president to do handouts. The local government chairman should know that they are responsible for their local government, not waiting for a handout, which means they should focus on the microeconomic variables that will develop their regions, so that then, while the president is focusing on his macroeconomic variables, it balances. And then everybody can now feel the effects. But right now, we are still like the military era, where everybody is waiting for one person to take a decision that will affect over 200 million people.
All right.
How would that one person do it?
Now, still staying on the minister's assertion, because we are reacting to what he said in his statement. The Minister of Economic Planning, Atiku Bagodo, also said that 2 years of the Asiwaju-led administration is far impactful than the 8 years of his predecessor, Muhammadu Buhari. In what critical areas? If you want to still stay on the macroeconomy, you could. But tell me how 2 years of one's administration can be compared in terms of improvement than a Buhari-led administration in 8 years. Nigerians are calling for electoral reform within the INEC space, where there would be complete departure of the executive in its influence of the electoral body. Have they been able to implement or put up a committee that will look into that report to show how Nigerians can improve, especially in our electoral system?
As for the electoral systems, I don't have details to give you, except I know that, yes, from INEC itself, they are really working. They've sent in a lot of proposals requiring approval to make the system fully automated, so that there is minimal influence from external parties, unlike now that it's semi-manual. In fact, semi-automated, but that automation itself is also manual automated. So at the end of the day, there is room for a lot of influence. And then even the kind of money being spent on election, we are supposed to spend only a fraction of it if we were very automated. So they've pushed out a lot of proposals. It is now left to the executive to approve or not.
All right. Now, so we just have less than 2 minutes to go.
Okay.
In what area of improvement have we made as a nation, talking about the complete independence of the legislative chamber and the executive? We saw in recent past where a Senate Speaker was having a cap on, having the emblem of the executive and chanting a song like, "On your mandate, we will stand." A legislature that do not understand where their place is in the 3 arms of government, how independent can that legislature run?
Let's not mix it up. Number one, the legislature is independent. That's why they are doing what they are doing. If they were not, that is, they are acting of their own free will.
How many bills brought to them by the executive have they turned down based on the past?
Now, those are politics I will not go into. I would go into the operational aspects. So, operational aspects is, what do I mean? Before a bill is passed, you know there's a lot of lobbying.
Sure.
So, what I would say is the present government, they are very good with their lobbying. So, they are so good that by the time the bill is there, it has already been passed. They just needed to formalize it. But that's talk for another day.
What makes it more like an appendage?
That's the issue now. The issue now is that the legislature is now so independent that they are free to act to the point where they have decided to act in line with political loyalty, not the public loyalty. But it's the public that put them there, but they forget and they decide to declare publicly where their loyalty lies, which is a culture problem we are having.
So there's no improvement in that, to be honest.
Yes, because we now need to re-educate them to let them realize, as a legislature, this is your responsibility, not what they are doing presently. And nobody's addressing that. Everybody's addressing the politics, not the activity.
All right, that's a beautiful place to leave the conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayo Emakweme, management consultant, for sharing your thoughts with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a mahiome.
That's our offering for you this morning from our Lagos Network studios. We'll be handing you over now to our Benin Network studio.